So I'm the project manager for the Native Fish Recovery Plan, and a little bit about the story of me getting here is going fishing with my dad. Only I wasn't repulsed by catching carp. I thought it was awesome because I was told, because I was a child of the 70s and 80s, and I was told stories by people who came before me about the rivers being clear. I grew up on the Murrumbidgee River, and people used to tell stories about being able to see the bottom of the river. And I used to put my hand in the water and I'd see how far I could get it down before it disappeared. And I just thought, this is not right. And I knew it was because of carp. That's what I'd been told. And I used to love catching them and throwing them up on the bank after my dad chopped their head off because I didn't want to do that. So that me saying this isn't right and a whole lot of other things that aren't right led me to standing here in front of you tonight. So the Native Fish Recovery Plan, what can we recover to? So these are some historic photos from when the Murray River Fishing Company used to catch fish in the late 1800s, early 1900s. They were pulling tons of Murray cod out of the river every week. This is actually from Bar Creek, which is a creek that no longer supports fish because it was dredged in the 1960s, but that's pretty impressive fish. So the Native Fish Recovery Plan, what can we recover to? So we've got a pretty ambitious vision that native fish diversity in the Gumbower and Lower Loddon project area will be recovered. So that's all those species that Clayton was talking about that have been lost to the system will come back. And that abundance will be increased to 50% of pre-European by 2035. And I know that's very ambitious and potentially we won't actually reach it, but we need to have a goal. So as Clayton mentioned, what are the things we need to do to get there? So the three critical components of native fish. So the reason why we want to do this is we want to actually improve our native fish populations. So when the carp virus is released, we give them a competitive advantage so that they can actually boom. And so when carp do start building a resistance, we've actually got a really good native fish population that can actually help keep those numbers down. They'll eat those babies when they're born. So within our region, we've actually got a fantastic region to actually help our native fish boom. We've got the forest wetlands, we've got swamps and lagoons, we've got creeks and rivers, so we've got Gumbower Creek, and we've got Pyramid Creek, and we've got the Loddon River, and of course it's all connected to the Murray River. But how do we capitalise on the carp bust and not compromise our productive area? And as we mentioned before, as Clayton mentioned before, the traditional approach to river health isn't feasible. Here we can't, and we actually don't want to, return to unnatural. So irrigation areas, this area in particular, has what our ecological assets need, lots of water. So we're looking at a plan that is recovery of native fish, working with the irrigation system, not against it. So our action plan over the next 10 years is we need to build delivery partnerships. We've got VR Fish, which is a recreational fishing body. We've got Gunawarra Shire, Goulburn Murray Water and Fisheries Victoria, all very excited about being partners with us in the delivery of the plan. We really need to work with the local community and traditional owners to help us deliver the plan and help us with monitoring the outcomes. So a key part of the plan is flow. This system is part of an anabranch system, so as Clayton mentioned before, we can actually deliver consumptive water en route through the Gumbower Creek or through Pyramid Creek and down the Loddon, all the way back to the Murray River, which actually means we don't need to use much water to actually achieve a really good outcome. We can meet all of the flow requirements that Clayton showed you before with the hydrograph, which actually will facilitate our native fish not only breeding, spawning, but they will also then be able to grow and become big fish, or adult fish, because not all of them are going to be big. So we've developed 2 environmental water plans for the system, and there's also the forest watering plan. So we've got the Loddon River system, which includes Pyramid Creek, and we've got the Gumbower Creek system, which includes the creek, but also the lagoons. And as Clayton mentioned before, connectivity. So we've got a couple of fishways already in place. We've got Kerang Weir and Gumbower Weir on the Gumbower Fishway on the Gumbower Weir. We've got design or construction underway on a number of weirs already. So Kundruk Weir, we've got some design. The chute, which is on the Loddon River, construction's happening, I think, now and maybe almost finished. Kahuna Weir, Goulburn Murray Water are looking at the design on that one. Box Creek, which is the regulator off Cow Swamp. There's going to be a fish lock on that, which is actually pretty incredible. Fish are going to swim in, the gate's going to shut, just like any normal lock. The water level will rise and they'll swim into the Cow Swamp. I don't know, that's just amazing. Fish Point Weir and Little Murray Weir, which I forgot to show. Little Murray River is also in Anna Branch. Golden Murray Water Connections project is actually has design for Fish Point Weir, and construction is going to be probably happening next year, all things going well. And Little Murray Weir, they're actually doing design right now. And then there's some critical barriers that remain. So once the Kundruk Weir and Kahuna Weir, and we already have Gumbow Weir, are done, that actually opens up the whole of Gumbow Creek to 530 kilometres of Murray River. That's pretty exciting. National Channel offtake, that's going to be enormous, but I think we've got to do it and create that connectivity the whole way through. Taylor's Weir and Dens Weir, that leads to Cow Swamp, so that would allow fish to move between Gumbow Creek into Cow Swamp, which was awesome nursery habitat apparently, and then they'll use the Box Creek Weir to jump into Pyramid Creek. And also various lagoons. Someone mentioned catfish before. Some of our lagoons have actually got catfish in them, and some of those catfish populations have actually been isolated since the National Channel was constructed in 1890, and that's actually pretty amazing. The genetic difference between those populations and the rest of Victoria's populations is actually quite significant. The other thing that we really need to do is actually stop fish from leaving the system, and we did talk about this at the last forum for those that were there. Sorry, I'm going to just do a quick run through. But this is actually an example of a fish screen. So in the channel, so this is the channel banks. The water comes through here, the water gets pushed through here, the fish go along here, and this little thing goes back to the creek. So the fish kind of don't have a choice, but they get flung back to the creek. This is one that's actually in the ground in the United States. This is another type of fish screen that actually the water goes through, and it's called a travelling screen. This comes up, the fish actually can't come up over the top of it, so there's a barrier. So the water can go through the screen, but nothing can actually get carried up. This is a pump screen, so it rotates, and this water here, this water here keeps it clean. So one of the issues that we have with irrigators around here, where they put screens on their pumps to try and stop platypus and turtles and fish from getting in them, they actually get blocked up and they have to take them off so that they can actually get the water through that they need. This actually does the cleaning for them, which doesn't interrupt their supply, and it's much easier to use. In heavy vegetated areas, these types of ones have been designed, and they have these brushes on the outside that just continually brush the vegetation off so they don't get blocked. They're pretty exciting. We've got a funding proposal that we've put into potential investors. We know in New South Wales they're just as excited about trying to get this going. I think this is the next big thing. Then we've got our classic river health programs that the CMA is known for: fencing, re-veg of riverbanks. The reason we need to do that is because riverbanks are actually the source of food, the original carbon that gets into rivers. So we need to make sure we have really good riparian vegetation to provide that initial food source. We also need to provide riparian vegetation for shading, for prevention of erosion, as a buffer between surrounding land. Very important. The other thing that we are doing, and need to do a lot more of, is actually putting snags back in. So there was a massive program over the 60s, 70s and 80s pulling snags out. It was thought that it would improve flooding, shown that it didn't really do that. So we're putting snags back in. Pyramid Creek, we've put some in. We've been doing modelling. It shows very negligible change in water level. We're really securing them in so they're not actually going to create, a problem. And yeah, it's a very extensive program that we need to roll out over the next 10 years. So it's an ambitious plan. It's for the whole of the region, the Toowoomba irrigation area. We've got a 10-year plan for on-ground works that comprehensively address all those threats that everyone's talked about today. And our phase 1 is from last year to about 2019. But we need your help. So what are the ways that you can help? From the carp perspective, there's the feral fish scan. We are creating a community group called the Native Fish Action Group, unless someone can think of a better name. So it'd be great if when you're filling out your evaluations at the end of today, if you could put your name down if you're really interested in being involved. and we're really keen to have as many people involved as possible. Get involved in your local land care so that we can do more revegetation of riverbanks, or get involved in your local water watch. We're really interested in pursuing citizen science, and with people out there monitoring rivers currently under a water watch program, we're collecting amazing data. The more people we have out there collecting that data, the better. We also need you to tell your local member how important the plan is, and we also need you to tell your local member how important the carp virus would be, so we can get funding for these things. Get your fishing club to write a letter of support for the plan. So the CMA worked very closely with Ivor, our esteemed colleagues Ivor and Clayton here, and another fish biologist, Martin Mallon Cooper, to develop this plan. We think this plan is absolutely the way to go for us to get our native fish population ready to capitalise on the carp bust if the virus is released. Even if it's not, we actually still think that this will help bring those carp numbers down, as our native fish actually have the tools that they need to breed successfully and for those babies that are born to reach adulthood. So that's all I've got to say.